Very upsetting. That's the only way I'd get rid of it, was just turning off the computer. It was in the computer, but I have no idea where. I looked at every program.
All right, we're good to go.
All right. And it doesn't say music up here anywhere on it. It said before, somehow a music setting got done. So let me see if I can pick it up where I was before, which is here to say it to to everyone here, is to kind of see if we can, because we can edit this around us later and stuff. So, okay. So the first question I'd like to ask everybody and get your feedback on is, what do you want from an open mic? That's one of the huge questions. Is the open mics are there, and are they fulfilling their need in the marketplace? That would be the first thing. So if anybody's got anything to say, I'd really appreciate it. Yes, Art.
Well, I was going to say, first of all, I'll just give you a little background here. I've attended 2 open mics, did 5 minutes at one. So that's the breadth of my experience. But I'm very comfortable in front of a crowd on a microphone. I ran a mobile DJ business for about 35 years. So I did a lot of weddings, parties, talking on a mic in front of large crowds. So that part isn't a problem. But the open mics, I want to go to them just to try and basically try the material and see what works and what doesn't.
So that's your basic outcome, is to get a read on your material. That's what you go there for.
It's tough though. Like I said, the 2 that I've gone to, they're in these little, one was in a little bar, one was in a little cafe. There was maybe 15 to 20 people in attendance, and just about every one of them was another comic. And the one time I did perform, as soon as I got up there, like 4 people left, because I figured, well, I don't know this guy, I'll go out and have a smoke or something, So
yeah, comics are not known for being polite.
So, yes, but that's about it. Like that, very, very new to this. In fact, I just finished reading this.
Oh yeah, no, that's good. Thank you for putting that up. Nice promo. Oh yes, Nicholas, thank you.
Got some fans here.
Yes, I've got this one too.
Oh, and the new comedy Bible too. Okay, Judy's a friend.
I haven't read that one yet.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, that's about it. Like I said, I'm very, very new to it. Just trying to get something going. I mean, I've written a lot of stuff. I mean, I've got one bit I really want to try, but it's probably almost 10 minutes long, and nobody will let me. I don't think they'll let me do it because they want to limit you to 5 minutes.
So, boy, you're lucky to have one at 5. A lot of them are 3.
Yeah, well, I gotta cut it down, and I haven't really timed it out yet. I'm guessing it's at least 8 minutes. It just kind of stretches and goes from, things kind of flow together, and like I said, I got to try and cut it down and then find somewhere where I can actually give it a shot in front of people so I can see what happens with it.
All right. Well, Nicholas or Lee?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I enjoy stage time. So any opportunity to get on stage and have an audience, that's great. Even an open mic, even if it's an empty chair, the only one in the room.
So you like to get up and just have the mic and the lights in your eyes and be able to verbalize your material? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, no, but I like performing in front of an audience. So even other comedians is an audience for me.
I see. So what do you want from the open mics? Just to be able to get up in front of people?
An open mic for me, I test new material. I sometimes, if I got a showcase, I'm perfecting it. I basically go to them because I enjoy them. I have a lot of fun. And I hang out with the other comedians too. I know everybody in Paris that's performing. I perform in French and in English, so they're different scenes. There's no one in my age group performing in Paris.
No, you're a little bit outside the demographic.
Yeah, but that way everybody knows me. They remember me at least. I can't remember all of them. There's so many of them.
Right. Do you have my book in French?
No.
Oh, okay.
I got it at the last bookshop in downtown LA.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Very cool.
Leela, you got anything to say about open mics?
Zero experience with stand-up open mics, but I'm on the cusp of 60. So I figure I'm kind of in that same like demographic. I'm really riding the edge of being able to do material from, the generation before me and the generation after me. And I don't feel real comfortable with a really young crowd at this point, although I think I can totally, I'm basically like I'm 16 in a 60-year-old body. So I think I can probably translate something, but yeah, it's kind of, I'm not really sure where I want to start with the crowds. I kind of have to feel like I have to pick my venues pretty carefully.
My suggestion on that is stop doing that. Just go and
Yeah.
do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what the audience wants is not an errand you want to go after, because you'll never know, because they don't know. All they know is they want to have a good time. They want to, be around somebody that's funny and playful and having a good time, et cetera, et cetera. Many people are always think about, can they relate to me? If the universal truth is there about human qualities, about human people, a truth in a joke about flaws and about who we really are and stuff like that, they'll relate. Doesn't matter if you're talking about what your subject matter is. If there's a truth behind it, they'll relate to that truth in their own way. They'll generalize their own experiences into those things. So my suggestion is just go out and do it, and then follow the laps. You're not going to be able to predetermine anything. That doesn't work.
Have you been reading my journal? Sounds exactly like that. Yeah, it's the truth. That's pretty much it.
Listen to me and your journal.
Yeah.
Go out and just do it. I mean, that's the whole thing, is that I know it's scary. That's part of the journey, is overcoming the fear. The more you lets fear win, you just get better at what you do. So if you're good at talking yourself out of it, you get good at talking yourself out of it. If you go, no, I'm just going to go do it, you get better at just, what I used to do for open mics, because the only ones in town when I first moved here to Los Angeles was at the Comedy Store. Well, maybe there was a couple of others, but not many. But it really was the Comedy Store. So it was terrifying. And I used to convince myself that I was going to go to the open mic, but I wouldn't perform. I'm not going to perform. I'm just going to go and sit and watch. And of course, that would get me there. And then I'd listen to a couple of people and go, well, I'm funnier than they are. And then I'd go sign up and do it. But it was so terrifying. That was the only way I could get that I didn't stay nervous all week long, was to go, okay, I'm not going to perform.
Yeah. And
once I got there, I go, once I'm there, the idea is to get yourself there, because you'll see that other people are they know probably less than you do and all. So it sounds like we know what you want from the open mics themselves. So let's see if we can come up with another question here. The next one is, what makes open mics bad? What are the things that are bad about them and stuff? First of all, welcome, Michael. Glad you're here. So what makes open mics bad? And has anybody got any thoughts about the specific things that make them, not pleasant to do, other than that they're just scary?
There's no audience.
Yes, that's true. And the audience is usually other comics.
That's right. And either they're not interested or they're revising
they're looking at their notes
before it's their turn.
Yeah, they're looking at their notes.
They don't laugh either.
Michael, come in with a raise a hand, because we're on speaker mode.
Okay. I raised it twice. Sorry. Okay.
Oh, okay. Steve, that's you then. Gotta notice that and stuff. So Michael.
Yes.
What was your thoughts?
So as Nicholas said, she said sometimes there's no crowd, which is also right. Like I've been open micing here in NYC for about 8 months now. And a lot of them, they're not paying attention.
you see the same people, the same comics at the open mics, and they've heard your jokes before. So there's no surprise there, although they heard the punchline. That's one too. And then it's just going from one open mic to the next open mic to the other open mic, and doing your same material. I probably have I have 2 5-minute sets that I do. It's maybe worth 2 minutes of decent material altogether, but I try to change it up, between each open mic,
So, yeah. Let's see, Art, anything on that one?
What was the question again?
What makes them so bad?
Yeah, again, like Nicholas said, I mean, it's the fact, I mean, like, again, I've only been to 2 and only performed at 1, but it's just, a dozen other comics at the ones I went to. It's very small places, and they don't seem too interested in really listening to what everybody else is saying. They're just focusing on what they're going to do when they get up there. It'd be nice if there were, I mean, I think they were really surprised. My wife and I came, we were like people they didn't know. So like, wow, we've got real people here, like a real audience, somewhat, but
Yeah,
yeah,
two
I mean,
people,
that
two
part
people
is
is a real audience.
yeah, well, for these guys, yeah, it was. 2 people they didn't know, and I mean, it's down in New York City, he's got to have a ton of options up where I'm in upstate New York, up right near Albany, and I'm going online and trying to find them. I did find there's a comedy club up in Saratoga Springs, which does one, which may get, I think they do it after their regular Friday night show. So I'm assuming that people will hang around. So you might have a somewhat of a real audience at that place. But that I think is the toughest thing as far as anything I've seen so far is just the lack of a real audience.
So, that brings up a very interesting point here for me, which is kind of the next thing I want to bring up here to everybody, which is what's that? Here it is. What about the pay to perform? There are now pay to perform. You put up $5, you get 5 minutes, or $5 for 3 minutes, et cetera, et cetera. And those run a certain way is it okay to pay $5 to do that? And what are the good things and bad things about those paid ones? Probably Michael, you're going to be the one that has more experience with that. Yes, thank you. Yes, Michael.
Okay. A lot of these places, the only way they're able to do that mic is if the establishment, like the bar or something, is going to benefit from it. So I don't mind paying $5. It's usually $5 for 5 minutes here in NYC.
Yep, that's same thing with.
Yeah, I don't mind paying for it. It's fine. I mean, if that's the only way I could get up, and a lot of the paid ones, if they're a good host, they'll say, we ask you to just stay for the whole thing, because you have a lot of, I call them mic grinders around here, and I'm sure they have it in LA or wherever in Albany, where they'll do their set, and then they'll leave right after to go cram as many sets in as they could for that day, and they don't laugh, they just do their set and they leave. But a lot of good hosts, they request you to stay the whole thing, be supportive. If something's funny, laugh. If it's not funny, don't laugh, and I don't mind paying the $5 is what I'm saying. Some are more expensive, which I kind of not go to too much, but yeah.
Well, some of them are like $10 or something like that.
Some of them are at the comic strip, and I shouldn't even say that. Just some other establishments, not only comic strip. It's $12 to $15, and you got to buy a drink at the bar, or sometimes you get a drink free. You get a drink ticket for free.
Right,
Yeah.
because you paid, some certain amount of money.
On average, it's $5, and some places in Brooklyn, it's like $3 for 5 minutes. I just give them $5. I'm like, just take it,
So that's okay for you. What about the rest of you? You guys good with the $5 for 5 minutes?
I'm okay to pay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Leela,
wouldn't-
yes.
Sorry. I've been looking around, I've been making lists of the open mics I want to maybe start with. And I've noticed a few that said 5 minutes. And then if you buy a drink, you get 10 minutes. So I thought that's great, because then if I have extra material I want to work out, I'm looking at the open mic as just, I'm going to get up there and just play. If I'm bored, I'll move my body. If I'll do something to get myself loose so that I can sort of get some experience just being on stage again. That's my take.
Right. Art, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, same as Leo. I've seen that. I've been scoping out a lot within like an hour of me. I actually went to one in Connecticut, didn't perform in it, and I noticed that what somebody said, that they had probably 20 comics there, but as they perform, they leave. By the time the last couple of guys got up there, there's nobody left to hear their stuff. But for the pay to perform, I've seen that a couple places that I've been looking at in the vicinity where they'll give you like 3 minutes, but if you buy a drink, you'll get 5, something like that. And I wouldn't have a problem doing that. It'd be nice, although if there was, like I said, some semblance of a real audience other than just comics.
Yeah, that's difficult because
Yeah.
audiences have learned that open mics are not particularly good entertainment.
Yeah.
People are like you guys, trying out new stuff, etc. So that kind of brings up the next idea that I have here. Let me see if I can get this going. Let's see. Am I sharing?
No,
I'm not.
no, you were.
Okay, so let's see. Oh, I was sharing. All right. Now let's share. Okay. Okay, here is the next thought that let's put it up. The next idea I had for this was, should these open mics have a list of rules, and what rules should they be? In other words, what are some of the guidelines we want them to follow in order to make these more productive times? That's what you're all complaining about, it seems, is that there's no real audience. The people that aren't there aren't listening. People who, once they perform, they just leave. That, like Michael was saying, they're the mic grinders that are just coming in and doing and going, and they're working on the material while other people are performing. Could there be a list of rules that could possibly make this a better experience for everybody? So what might those ideas be? Michael, did you leave us?
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Oh, you can't see me the whole thing? I'm sorry.
No, again, I have a matrix of 4 or 5 people, and
Okay.
sometimes right now I can't see you, and I can adjust it. Now I can see you. Yes, go ahead.
Well, I can only go by here, and some of the rules, you'll probably like this one, Greg, and the other people. Certain material, I go to this one mic on Thursday. It's a great mic, and they say the only rule I have, one my host says, don't do overly racist or overly rapey jokes. If you must do them, they got to be good and fun, not like punching down on certain races or, for rape. That's one. And the other person says, the other host that I go to a certain day of the week, yeah, her rule is try to stay. She says, I can't force you to stay, but try to stay if you want to keep coming back to this mic. One rule I thought of maybe is, you see so many comics, you guys probably see this too. You see so many open micers right at this level. They're doing crowd work, and some of it's good, a lot of it's garbage. In my opinion, complete garbage. And they're not getting laughs out of the crowd work. And then they post it on the internet. It's like, why would you want to do that? But that's just my opinion. But maybe minimize crowd work you know, because it's not a real crowd, you know. But again, I guess open mics for whatever you want to work on, right? There's no hard, fast rules, right, Greg? I don't know.
Well, my thoughts behind this are a couple of things. One, I think rules shouldn't be necessarily about censorship.
Mm.
Somebody wants to come in and do a bunch of racist stuff. They certainly, I think, have a constitutional right to do that. And also other people have a constitutional right to be upset about it.
Yeah.
No, and if they're attacking your group, then that person's going to have to pay the consequences, as Michael Richards found out. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you had a right to get up and do what he did,
Yeah.
and people gave him some leeway. He just went overboard. But then that led to censorship, like Jamie Masada at the Laugh Factory went, well, anybody that says the N-word has to pay $20. And then black guys were getting up there with, you know, like a couple $100 worth of 20s and went, okay, I'm going to do my show anyway. Because they're the ones using the N-word a lot more often, because it's in, you know, it's part of their culture, because they're not saying it derogatory. A lot of times it's saying my friend. So censorship, I think, should be done by the audience. If each individual audience, if they don't want to hear it, I understand that. I'm just not big on censorship. I guess I don't really want to hear about rape and murder and things like that from the point of view of the predator. I think is a problem. But at the same time, you know, stand-up is one of those last bastions of places where you get to say what you want to say. And then there's consequences. Okay. And that's what people have to learn. I mean, I've had students, one guy in particular was doing some real sexist stuff. And I said, you're welcome to do it. I said, and it can turn on you. And boy, did it, including the comedian that followed him, just took him apart. One of the funniest shows I've ever seen at my open mics. She just took him apart.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious. Well, okay, well then now you got the battle of the sexes and stuff. And then later when we did the video review, he was like, I get it now. And to his credit, he came back into the class again, and his next show was the best show of the night, because he learned how to temper his sexism into good jokes and to have a point of view about it instead of just attacking, right? So now there's a good example of somebody went up and did something that was disagreeable to the audience. They let him know that, and he adjusted. Okay. Now, it doesn't mean he has to adjust. You don't have to pander to an audience. But again, you do have to get the audience to laugh with you at stand-up comedy, you know, not insult everybody night, which that's okay too. So censorship for me is always a problem. I don't really censor my students very much. I know a lot of female comedy teachers censor their people. There's certain things about women that they can't say. That's one. So, you know, the question is, what are the rules? What are helpful rules? Anybody else have any thoughts about rules?
I once had doubtful material, and I discussed it with the host before the open mic, and his attitude was, it's an American guy, he says his attitude was, it's an open mic. This is for testing materials. After the open mic, we see where you go from there.
I completely agree. Same thing for my classes. People come to you, I was afraid to try that in the class. I'm going, this is the place. At my open mics, at my even in my classrooms. I mean, I've had some outrageous stuff. I mean, just over the top stuff. And people go, he can't say that, or she can't say that. I'm offended. And I went, oh, yes, he can. Yes, she can. Yeah, they can say that. And you can be offended, and you get to say, I'm offended. But so what? The rest of us were laughing and you were offended. So you get to be the arbiter. Who gets to be the arbiter? I say the audience gets to be the arbiter. The audience, if the audience is laughing, you know, then they're doing the right thing. If they're silent and all walking out, that's also they're voting. Let them have the vote. You know, and unfortunately with clubs, they're running a business, so they can't have people walking out. So they're a little bit more discriminating about who they let into the clubs. But open, like I agree with open mics are open mics. Come in and try the outrageous stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, so I know when I was doing some open mics, I became a paid regular pretty early at the Comedy Store, and there was a thing called the Westwood Comedy Store, and that's where we all went to work out. I was there with Sam and Dice Clay and Robin and all the other people. We were doing the crazy stuff there, right? And then when you get to go to the like main room or the original room at the Hollywood, that's where you did your A material to make everybody laugh, but you did the crazy stuff at the Westwood Comedy Store. I remember nobody wanted the 9 o'clock paid spot, so I went to Mitzi and said, "Give them all to me." Like 4 or 5 nights a week, I was there from 9, from 9 to 9:15 or whatever they gave me, and there were 2 to 5 or 6 people there. That was okay with me because I just try crazy stuff, things that just were, and sometimes it would work, and sometimes it was a complete disaster. I've had it where the whole audience hated me, and I went, well, okay, that didn't work. So, okay, it comes back to what rules can help. Anybody here have any ideas about some kind of guidelines or rules other than censorship that might help?
Leela?
It kind of piggybacks on this last, but I didn't start to think about getting into stand-up comedy until recently. I'm on the cusp of 60. But I didn't get into this to be censored, period. So if I show up at an open mic and I've got something to say and I get shushed, which happens in my life anyway, all the time. My husband's my biggest shusher. I've lived an insanely crazy life, diverse, and for anyone to judge whether I'm able to tell a queer joke or a lesbian joke or a kinky joke or a joke about strippers, fuck you. I'm sorry. Like, don't tell me who I am, right? So if I'm not able to do that, I'm out of there. And I'm not an offensive person, but I tell the truth. And I tell the truth about my life. And if someone's going to tell me or put me in a box and say, you're not queer because you're married to a man, they got a mouthful. They got a huge mouthful coming.
Good
So,
for you. See,
yeah, I'm kind of, yeah.
One of my definitions for this whole thing is stand-up comedy, good stand-up comedy, and it's got to be funny. Don't get me wrong. We got to do it through jokes and stuff. But it's really the world according to you. That's what I teach my students is, you're not being honest. Say what's really on your mind. That's a hard thing for me to get people to do, get up and say what's really on their mind, because, for me, the comic voice, people ask about the comic voice, that voice that runs in the back of your head all day long. It says all that horrible, racist, mean, violent, terrible, judgmental stuff. That's the real you. That's who you are without that frontal lobe censorship, right? You think of those things, you just don't do them, right? Because we're discriminating. But to me, that's your comic voice. That's what should be coming out of your mouth. In my classes, I'm going, you're not being honest here. Say what's really there. When I get them to say it, everybody laughs because you think you're going to say some horrible thing. And you're going to think everybody's going to dislike you. What I usually find is that you discover peers. You find the people that agree with you or that are too afraid to say it. But it's running in the back of their head too. Okay. So yeah, that's why I think censorship is such a bad thing, especially in an open mic or a classroom. I've had people attack me in my classrooms, right? And, and I'll give them applause and kudos for it, and they don't like the way I'm teaching or whatever. That's good. Then I'll go, okay, feedback from other people, because clearly this isn't the best one for me to give feedback. I'm not going to sit around and defend what I'm doing. It just makes me look defensive. What do you guys think? Okay. So, yeah, Michael, and then we'll go over to Nicholas. Michael.
I just want to reiterate, the person, they're not really centering it. They're just like, don't overtly do it, and, I guess that's just their mic, which leads me to my next point is find a mic that you like and is good for you, that you fit into. Obviously someone that, if that's their spiel, rape jokes or racism, don't go to that mic, That's all I'm saying. And I totally agree with you with censorship, you know. But it's kind of, yeah, that's it, you know.
Yeah, well, exactly. Isn't that the point of the open mic, is to push the envelope to
Yeah,
find
it's like
something?
I paid my $5. Let me say what the
Right.
fuck I want, you know.
Nicholas.
I was educated, Greg. It's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Mm.
I would
And
agree
sometimes-
with that as well. What's the spin, and maybe the purpose of it?
No, but I agree with
Say-
you. The bottom line for me, comedy is to make people laugh, not to offend people. But as you have this comic voice, you can formulate. And also, I find I can tell the same joke and just change the vocabulary. It's still funny.
That's really good. Leela, unmute.
Uh, I don't know what to think. All I know is I've got a loud effing voice and I'm not afraid to use it. So,
Very good.
I mean,
And
as
that's
a
what-
mature,
that's
as
the
a
point.
mature, yeah, and as a mature person who is on the other side of ignorance, I think there's a lot to be said that truth can be really funny. You know, turning the lens on humanity, I think is the greatest thing we can do as a comic right now. And so I'm not afraid to get out on an open mic and not be embarrassed. And you know, I feel like a free being now. I can say what I want. I can move my body how I want. I can touch myself how I want. I can play. And if someone doesn't want to play with me, that's just fine. I'm real comfortable playing by myself. That's
Good. Good.
kind of
See,
my
that's
attitude.
a good thing, because now that sets you free, though, in front of an
Yeah.
audience, to do what you want to do. I mean, I knew Sam Kinison and stuff. People kept telling him, stop yelling at the audience. He didn't listen.
Yeah.
They were telling Dice, oh, you're quite sexist. And he's like, so? This is what I think is fine. Anthony Jeselnik, everybody kept saying, oh, he's one of my students as well. Kept saying, your stuff's so dark. And he just didn't listen. He went, this is what I want to do. I just got to find a way to do it. You know, I've got a woman in my class right now who has a very abusive background. And she's doing a show, and we're finding the way to get the audience to laugh at her jokes. And it's mostly about, as Nicole's saying, that the way she's saying it, I mean, it is such a horrible background that she's coming from. The audience, it feels so bad for her. And we're finding ways and working with her so the audience sees that she's okay. And she's working through these things. I mean, jokes like, you know, oh, I've started to date again, and this time it's outside the family. You know,
I feel that.
there's abuse in her background. You know, she's also got her DNA worked on and found out she had all these horrible people in her life. And she goes, wow, it seems like I got my DNA done by ancestry.com.
Oh my God.
These
Yeah.
are hilarious
Uh.
jokes, but the audience is going, "Ugh,"
Yeah.
you know, because of the hurt involved, right? I understand. But those are great jokes, one joke after another, after another. She's become a really great joke smith. We're more working on her state that she's in while she's talking about it. So the audience, she's not so serious as she
Yeah.
was in the beginning, that the audience goes, oh, she's okay. And she's talking about that. Finally, one day, was in the show, she says, she stopped, and the audience was kind of having trouble. She goes, you know, I'm not trying to say all this stuff to be shocking. I'm just trying to tell you about my life.
Yeah. Sounds more like a one-woman show kind of material. Yeah, I'm in the same place, but I'm on the other side of it. So my goal is to get up there immediately and say, I'm a playful, crazy, happy, well-adjusted glitterhead. You know,
And that's nice. So what you have over her was that she's not a happy, crazy, well-adjusted.
Yeah. And I couldn't have done comedy at that point. I could not have done that. I had to do my trauma work in order to make it funny.
And she's using stand-up as a way to work through her trauma, as a way of reframing it, because every joke is a kind of a reframe in itself and stuff. So we kind of coming back, I keep coming back to this theme about the rules. because I've run open mics. My wife has run a lot of open mics, Gayla Johnson, and we post rules. We post rule if you and basically is if you don't want to adhere to these common courtesy things, then goodbye. You know, is that's part of it, is that the rules are be there when you're introduced, or you go to the end of the line. Everybody agree with that? You know, if you're not there, you're out smoking some pot when you've been introduced, and you're not around, or you're in the bathroom with that pre-show jitter piss, what do you do? So that was one of them. You go to the end of the line. What are your thoughts about that? If you're not there when you're introduced, you go to the end of the line, or you don't get to get up on stage at all. Thoughts about that?
Michael?
Michael, yes.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. I think that's a great rule. And when you said be there when your name's called, there, I just thought of another person. She doesn't allow cell phones, so you have to like
Oop, he froze
like
up.
physically, emotionally be there with the other comics. Please put your cell phones down. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right.
Now you blinked out for a second. Go ahead.
All right. So when you said be there, I totally agree with that. And I have another host that says physically and emotionally, like be there, like pay attention. You know, no cell phones. Try not to be on your cell phone. If you must look, you know, it's fine. But no browsing, or you know, just pay attention. You know, give respect back to who's up. And there was another rule that. No, I agree with that rule. That's it. You know.
Anybody else have thoughts on that? Yeah, because again, with the ones that I've run, was the rule was you couldn't have your cell phones, and or you know, I mean, if there's an emergency, I'm a doctor or whatever. Okay, it's there, it rings, got it. That's okay with me. All right, but not where you go. No, you can't work on your material. All you can do is stay there, and you stay for the whole thing. And ours were only an hour. Okay, and my phrase was, if you want an audience, be an audience. If you want an audience, be an audience. Ours were only for an hour, and I had one of these, you know, mic grinders, as you call them, come in, and I said, you know, and he's going, I'm not going to stay for that. And I went, bye-bye. The other people stayed for the whole open mic, which was an hour. And we had a tremendous time. Everybody had good shows. Everybody did 5 minutes. And not everybody was great, because they're trying new stuff and doing so on and so forth. But, you know, it's also, well, like you were saying, Michael, go and find one that's good. So understand, kind of, you know, studying anthropology and sociology, culture comes from the top down. So if the person running it, can everybody go ahead and mute again, unless you're talking, because the speaker window is jumping around, including Steve. That if that person is on top of it, kind of going, okay, here's the guidelines, okay, and you don't have to follow them, but if you don't follow them, we're not going to let you back in. I mean, that's really the only vote you have. I have. Is, you know, it's the only vote I got about my classes. I've had students, you know, go against everybody and make trouble for everybody in the class. What's my vote? My vote is, you know, oh, can I come back to class? No. That's what can I come back to the open mic? No, you don't get to come in and play, because everybody's playing within the same parameters that is effective for everybody. So that's why we set certain rules. And then by signing up for the open mic, by doing that, we're agreeing to these rules. So if they violated them, and they weren't a lot, but they were all like, be there when you're introduced, or you go to the end of the night, etc. You know, I mean, and pay attention. You know, if you're going to be on your cell phone and work on your material, while other in my classes one time I had a guy who, because I used to always say, stop working on your material while other people are up there. And this one guy just wouldn't do it. So one day he was late. And I said to the whole class, when this person gets up and perform, everybody work on your material. Except me. I'm the teacher. He pays me. And of course, everybody started working on the material, and he's like trying to say, he's going, what the hell's going on? I said, oh, they're all working on the material. So, and I said, wait, we're just treating you like you've been treating everybody else. And you're upset? We're treating you like you've been treating all of us for the last 3 weeks, and you don't like it. Wonder if there's something to learn from that. Maybe you might think. Well, shows you the inflexibility of people. He quit the class. And you know what? That was all right with me. I don't like it when people quit my classes and stuff. But the point was that he didn't understand. So he wouldn't even learn, just to pay attention to other people. Because you're voting with your laugh, et cetera. So that's another really, I think, a good rule, which is pay attention. That's why I personally like the paid ones, because if everybody pays and you're doing like 10 people in an hour, everybody gets 5 minutes, and then there's enough time to shuffle more people in and out, because we had some and I worked with them. Everybody was paying attention. Now, if you got a really good MC, the show went really well. You have a really good host that knows how to be a really good host. The problem is most MCs are what I call the air brakes of comedy. The comedian will get the audience going, and boy, that MC is going to put an end to that good time quick. That seems like their job. I'm going to go up and make sure everybody stops laughing before I leave this stage. And they're usually the show producer, unfortunately. So anybody have any thoughts about the quality of the MCs at these open mics? Do you have any things you'd like to say? You don't have to be specific about them. They can be general thoughts. Leela, did you have something? Your hand's up.
This is just a beginner question, maybe. Does it make sense to train to be an MC before you do stand-up? Because I think that's a niche where I could slip in and get comfortable with the whole situation. Does that make sense?
Yes, actually, I do MC training, and I call it a fast track to your comedy career, because as you go to these open mics, you're going to realize, and a lot of produced shows, like bringer shows, produced shows around your town, if you've got a lot of them. We're in LA, and some of you in New York and stuff like that, they've got a lot of them. And if you're a really good MC, everybody wants you on their stage. They want you to run it because you run a really good, tight show. My wife, Gayla Johnson, again, I gave her that advice in the beginning of her career, and she became this really great MC. And then she was performing all over town, got to be a really good, let's say, feature level comedian, almost ready for headliner. And she had to say, okay, I'm no longer doing MC work. And for 6 months, the gigs just dropped off. And then pretty soon, after about 3 to 6 months, these same people started calling her up and booking her as the feature and the headliner for their rooms. Okay. But she got that good from being an MC is a really good thing, but boy, there's a lot more to it than people think that there is. That's why I train people in being a good MC, and my MCs are terrific. And then the ones who actually do it start getting around LA, and they start getting lots and lots of stage time, because I teach them a certain way that the way you pay is to get your moment each open mic or each show. You get your moment. So yes, a good MC. Anybody else got anything to say about MCs?
Yeah.
Michael?
MC sets the tone for the show,
Yes,
in my
they do.
experience.
Yes. And what I find with most of them is they don't understand that their job is that they're not the picture, they're the frame.
Yep.
That's what they don't get. They keep trying to be the picture. And your job is to take care of all those other comedians, take care of the audience, and take care of the show, the pace of the show, etc. And that includes in open mics and other things, because you get the experience of doing that. So when you actually have a real show, your priorities are correct. Oh, I'm here to take care of the audience. I'm here to take care of the comedians. I'm here to take care of the pace of the show. That's what I'm here for, to make sure all that works. Nicholas.
I often feel the MC's role is not to be the star. It's like in the circus with the ringmaster. You're not the star, and you make everybody else feel good and feel comfortable.
Very true. Very true. I know that personally because I have been a ringmaster for a circus.
Right. One other comment, and this is from the other side of the coin. I've seen in a lot of audiences where the MC opens up and gets to know the audience, and the comedians are out of the room. And when it's their turn to get up, they ask the same questions.
Yeah. If you're doing some kind of crowd work or something like that, one of the things I suggest my students is watch the whole show and take notes.
I think it's good to be in the room.
Yeah, because if
And
I also
everything-
tell them, take notes about, what's the question they, what's your name? My name is June. What do you do for a lawyer? Living. I'm a lawyer. Next person gets up. Hi, what's your name? My name is June. What do you do for a living? I'm a lawyer. Wow. If you're the fifth or sixth comedian that comes up, you can go, June, I'm not going to ask you if you're a lawyer. You get a huge laugh right there because the audience knows, oh, you've been paying attention and you care not to bother the audience with the same questions and bother the same people. Goes a long way to credibility for that as well. So MCs, you're right, MCs set the tone. They set the pace.
Also, I think the
pace of the
audience
show.
appreciate when a comedian's in the moment. So, like the other day, I was in a show and the headliner didn't even mention that it was Halloween. I thought, okay.
Yep. That's good as well.
The
So
other thing,
I
go
guess
back
my
to
last,
the open mics, and that is, even if I'm not on stage, I learn a lot by watching other people perform, whether they're good or they're not good. I learn a lot by watching what they're doing, and it's part of my learning process personally.
it should be for everybody, quite frankly. Because I find a lot of beginners are so obsessed with their own material and themselves, they don't watch other comedians. They don't even pay attention to the audience. And the audience is responsible for your success completely. They are completely responsible for your success with each individual joke, each show, and your career. They are the ingredient. That's why I teach the number one most important principle that I teach is the show is about the relationships, not about the material. That it's about that relationship. And that changes everything when the show becomes about the relationship and I don't mean that some people think I mean like that by, oh, you mean I do crowd work? No, I mean caring enough to have your attention on the audience to actually deal with their real response, which is laughter or lack thereof. And you're present for all of that and you're dealing with it. If they're not laughing, you're adjusting. If they are laughing, you're building a rhythm with them. Okay. But both of those take attention on the audience, where I find most beginner comedians, too many of them, let me just say, not all, but too many of them, the audience is almost like a necessary evil. Oh, I got to go and get in front of this audience to find out if they like this joke or not. Oh, they don't like it, so I don't like them. It's weird because if every audience sucks, there's really nothing for the comedian to learn. They just need to find the right audience that likes their jokes. And I see a lot of comics out there doing the same show that doesn't work night after night after night after night. And once in a while they hit a show that it works. Oh, they finally found an audience that likes their show, rather than making the show about the relationship, which makes it so. The final thing, because we're around the hour, and even though thank you all for staying longer because of the mishaps with the sound and stuff earlier, but what do you think? What's the best open mic you did, and what do you think are the best practices what are the rules? What are the guidelines? What are the things that you think they should be doing to make the open mics more productive? Any suggestions? I know mine, but I'd really like to hear yours. This is what I would like them to do to make it a better open mic for everyone. And maybe we can get some guidelines going out there and set some standards so that these open mics go, oh, they have something to follow. You know, I mean, just to kind of put it out there, even in a video, to say, hey, come on, let's elevate these open mics to this. Anybody have any ideas about what exactly you would like the open mics to do better to make them a pleasant and even more important, not always pleasant, because it's not always pleasant, a productive experience?
Well, the only thing I can think of, and I don't know if there's a real good way to do it, is somehow encourage other people other than the comics to come there somehow, or they offer, discounted drinks or something to try and get more of a semblance of a genuine audience instead of just comics there. And I don't know if there's a reasonable way to do that. I mean, it's already free, so nobody's paying to get in. But and again, in my limited experience, it'd be nice to have more regular people there.
You know, it's interesting because I taught in London, and London has a lot of pubs. Now, if you structure of pubs, is the pub is downstairs, and then there's these rooms upstairs, right? And so what a lot of open micers did there, and they had a lot of them, was they did their open mics upstairs, and then they'd come down and yell at all the people, the drunk people, the pub, hey, we're doing an open mic, come on upstairs, and if you want to listen to some comedy, come on up. And 5, 6, 7 people will come up with their pint, sit down, and they put on 3, 4, maybe 5 comedians in a row. And then they go, okay, we're taking a break so you can go back down and get your beer, get your pint, and they'll run back down. And, you know, it'll give about 15 minutes. And somebody would go, all right, we're running the open mic again. And then different people would come up, sit up there for 15 minutes and watch. And real audience members, now, they were all drinking and stuff. Yeah. But they had real people at these open mics. And then some of these people, yeah, no, I come here every week. I come here all the time just to get up and you know, it's kind of drink a few beer. And I don't come to every one of them, but I'll go to one a night. And it's just amazing. They actually got real people there by doing that. But that it's a different culture here in America. You go, oh, we're going to take a break on this open mic, and everybody goes home. They just go back downstairs and continue drinking and come back up again and up and down and up. Well, I don't see why we can't do that with some side rooms. They're going to go, hey, we got a side room here or something. Hey, we're doing this open mic. Come on in and drink, and then might be able to get some real people that way. So same thing with coffee shops or something like that. I've seen some good ones in coffee shops, and go and have some real people sitting there drinking coffee, and they know it's an open mic night. So that's one way I saw happen in London. But anybody else have any thoughts about improving open mics? Let's see. Let's go Nicholas this time, then we'll go Michael.
The idea I have is seemingly unrelated, but I think it'd be really good in the open mics if there was someone in the room who gave the comedians feedback. Now, when we have a showcase, the feedback is laughter. But when it's open mic and people are experimenting, because Greg, I must admit, I went through the Toastmasters program before I started doing comedy. Right, so you get evaluations. You give a speech, you get feedback. What works well is very, very positive. What works well, gray areas, recommendations for improvement, and you learn much faster. Because I personally, when I'm on stage, I'm in a little bubble. I'm in my own little bubble. So getting feedback, and I get a lot of feedback from comedians. We're a little community in reality.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And also, Nicholas, I want to thank you for bringing our in-resident Rembrandt painting. Just wanted to say that to you, that you make a very striking portrait. Michael, you had some thoughts.
That was a good riff on the Rembrandt painting, Greg. But yeah, no, to speak on, like, Art had a good point with more non-comic audience members at open mics, which you do have them sometimes here in the city. Again, I don't know where you guys are at, but and Nicholas, I was going to say the same thing. They do feedback mics here, but also on the comics, and I'm guilty of this too, on the comics part, be open to it, you know, because in the beginning, well, I'm still beginning, obviously, but I mean, months prior, I'd go to these feedback mics, and then I would get, it's my ego, I would get offended because another comic would say, hey, you should try it like this. I wouldn't be an asshole or anything, but I'd say, just thanks. And I noticed later on, as I learned more, I'm still learning, that it's my ego, and I just got to be more open to it. Now I don't care. I don't care if you're below me or you're a higher level than me. I'm open to any feedback. If it can help my jokes or help my performance, then I'm all for it. You know what I mean? But feedback, a lot of feedback, helps. But I have to, discipline myself to be more open to it. But feedback mics are always good. And it's not, I noticed this in writing class, same thing, Nick, you have the Toastmasters evaluation. In a writing class, you write your material, and then we go around the class one by one, what you like, what you didn't like about Mike's paper. Then I have to do that with every other classmate. And we go around, and I feel it makes you a better critique, and it makes me learn what I like and what I don't dislike about whatever the subject is, or, so feedback's a big thing.
I agree. A lot of beginners, though, are like you were. In other words, they're not really open to the feedback because, and I understand it, you work so hard on something that's not really very effective, but doesn't mean you haven't worked real hard and put your entire heart and soul into it, and then it doesn't work, and then somebody kind of goes, well, what I've developed or I work with is what I call solution feedback. I only give solution feedback because I've laid out so many techniques, principles, et cetera, that for me to go, okay, here is the specific principle, or here's the specific technique you need to work on, or here's what this guideline. Your setups or your punches are too long, and this is here they're written down. Go look at them. If you follow those, I find fewer people get defensive because I'm not criticizing. See, that's the hard part for me. And people go, well, that was a shitty set. You didn't get a laugh with that. What the hell are you doing? That's what I want to avoid. And a lot of comics are that way. A lot of comics, comics work so hard for so many years. Good comics worked for so long to find out what makes them funny. They don't take into account your sense of humor. They're saying, this is the way I do it. You should do it that way too. That's the other downside to unguided feedback, which is what I call opinion. Oh, I don't like that, because I don't open it up to just everybody's opinion. I try to keep opinions completely out of my classroom, including mine, because I got to tell you how many times people have done shows in my classroom that I just despised. They come and tell me the idea, and what I say though is, hey, put it up in class. And then I help them as much structure, write tags for it, help them put it together, do all the things, all the techniques, and all the ways I work with everyone else just as committed. And we'll go to the improv and do our showcase. And the audience is laughing. The students are laughing. I'm sitting back there going, I hate this show. I just don't find it funny. I don't like it. But it doesn't matter, because I'm not the arbiter of everybody's sense of humor. My job is to help you articulate your sense of humor, not mine. Okay, that's my job as I see it. So that's why I try to keep my opinion out of it. That's why I don't like that censorship stuff, because that's somebody's opinion about things. I'm offended, right? Just go to colleges. I'm offended. I did Swarthmore College. Oh, I wanted to slap those kids. It was so I find it's helpful, the kind of feedback that if everybody's giving you something good and helpful, it's good. All it does is take one person that thinks, who's mistaken criticism for intelligence. They think if they're really harsh, mean, and critical, that makes them smart. And it doesn't. Information knowledge makes them smart, and how to use that knowledge. So that's my particular thing on that. So to wind this all up as best I think I can here, to look at all this stuff, is what it sounds like everybody wants is to get a read on their material, mostly. To get up, have fun, get a read on their material, have a place that's open to letting you be yourself, instead of having to be what the we'll call it room mic producer wants you to be. You'd like everybody to stay for the whole thing, and certain reasonable kinds of guidelines or rules are a good thing to help out with everyone. And like I'm saying, just being basically courteous and treat other people like you'd like to be treated. It's not really anything major. It's just setting up a situation where it's productive for everybody. So that seems to me to be pretty much the consensus here. So I want to thank you for showing up for this. And I'd like to share one last thing with you here real quickly. One of the things, my little pitch of the things. So here, just quickly, because people ask me, and this is kind of is the things that I offer. You know, if you can go to you can get all my stuff at standupcomedy.com if you're interested in these things. I'm just going to go through them quickly. I'm not here to talk you into them, just to introduce you to them. You go there and you can get the free ebook, The Top 10 Stand-Up Comedy Secrets. It's free. Okay, it's an ebook. I have a lot of free stand-up comedy blogs. You can go to those from the website as well. You can go to, or you just go to YouTube. I've got over 200 videos at Greg Dean Comedy, and actually, Greg Dean Comedy is on all of my social networking. That's what I also teach in my business class. You should have one of these monikers, one of these things. All of your stuff should be like whatever your name, comedy or comedian or comic or something. And then all I have to do is type in this one phrase like mine, and that you can get like 6 pages of me over the years. I've been doing it 40 years. So I have a level 1 class, which covers, the joke structure, 5 ways of generating material, a lot of stuff about telling stories. I do it in person in Santa Monica. We also have Zoom, taught by my wife, Gayla Johnson, who's a headliner. She's got an album out called Black Wives Matter. She's African-American. Also, I have a free introductory webinar that you can see online. So I don't have to pitch it to you. You can go and see it. You can see the stuff I actually go over. You can learn a lot from that particular webinar too. I have on-demand classes on Teachable. One of them is the Joke Writing Made Simple. We cover my joke structure. My joke structure is not set up and punch per se. That's what other people say. My joke structure, I coined the term joke structure to describe the 5 mechanisms that connect set up and punch. Set up and punch that's just the way we express it, no different than a cartoon or a sketch, or that's just the way we do it. Set up and punch in my world is not joke structure. Those 5 mechanisms are joke structure, and a way to write jokes, Joke Writing Made Simple. How to be an MC, really helpful, because that can fast track your career, because you can get a lot of experience quick. I'm telling you, it's really amazing. And then I also have my business class, 10 Steps to Being a Working Comedian. A lot of great stuff there I've collected over many years, and working with a lot of comedians and talking to a lot of club owners about what they want from comedians and mistakes and things they can do right in order to get work, what they want from people. So that's pretty much it. So I'll thank you all for showing up to the forum's pros and cons of open mics.
Thank you.
Thank
Greg,
you all so very much. Appreciate it.
Greg, I had one question.
Yeah, let me go and let me sign off here.
Sorry.
So just remember, laughter is contagious. Pass it on.
Thank you.
Michael, what do you want to ask?
On Teachable, because I have your book, and I'm thinking about going on Teachable to the simple way of learning how to write a joke. So I'm
Right.
having trouble finding connectors to the first story.
Boy, that's connectors. Well, that's not the hard part. The hard part is the reinterpretation between them. Yeah.
Okay.
And I've got better stuff now to teach that as well. Consider my level 1 with Gala. If you're in New York,
Okay.
consider the level 1 because she's going to go and it's all done with a deck, and you get a video, not that night's video, but we got backup videos on it.
Yeah.
So that if you don't understand it or what. Also, we're all on Slack in my classes. Do you know what Slack is?
No.
Oh, it's like an internal email system for everybody. So you can talk to me, you can talk to Gala, you can talk to any of my staff, you can talk to all the other comedians that are in your classes.
Okay.
And stuff. I mean, it's a networking kind of thing because we're into building community. It's not just, that building the community is part of what we're doing here to get people to interact. And a lot of people, we encourage them. And I have some students that do a lot of them, and then they contact people and say, hey, I'm going to go do this open mic. You want to come with me, et cetera, et cetera. You could set up a system like that in New York City as well.
Okay.
That we can work with you. The important thing though is I have so many techniques and principles, and you really there's so much language because there's so much that comedians do. And as I started modeling it and noticing it over 40 years, I've been doing it. I'm still doing it. I'm still finding things that a lot of these things you'll go, oh, I've seen comedians do that before. And I've done that before, but there's no name for it. There's, it's called misdirection. Oh, well, what is that? Well, what's the actual structure of that misdirection? I teach that. Okay. Ways I have, 6 guidelines for writing setups. There's, it's what I call comedy grammar, right? There are certain things that if you write your setups with these 5 guidelines, you'll end up with a really good setup. And if you follow the 6 guidelines for punches, you'll have a really good punch. Now, you can take that once you write it, it doesn't necessarily make it a one-liner, because that could be that joke right in the middle of a story. To me, a joke is a joke is a joke is a joke. It's always that connector. It has to have that one thing with 2 interpretations, right? That's at least the starting definition. It's not necessary to explain everything going on inside of a joke, but it is the one thing that is required. It isn't a joke without that connector, that one thing with 2 interpretations. So, and we practice identifying those in jokes in the level 1 class as well. I play a series of videos, go, okay, what's the connector? I'll put up a written one. What's the connector? And people say, oh, you cherry pick them. The only way I cherry pick them is I make them more difficult to figure out. They'll look at them and they'll go, oh my God, like my student, Tamer Caton. He's got a Muslim father and a Jewish mother. Right. And his joke is, when I tell people that, they think they react like I've just said, my dad's a Pepsi, my mom's a Mentos. It's a very funny joke, always gets a huge laugh, right? Boom. And okay, what's the connector? And they're all, it's combining, the connector is combining 2 things that are explosive. Well, in this case, 2 cultures or religions, if you want to put it that. Here, it's 2 chemicals, but it's that connector he says they think it's like. So he's saying they're thinking it's not. His parents have a good marriage, but other people react like they said that. Oh, they're expecting that marriage to be as explosive as, some kind of soda and Mentos. But I give them that joke, and then I know they're going to be stumped for a while. So we talk about it, look at it. What are the 2 interpretations? Let's look at it. But the joke diagram, the joke structure, gives you a mental model, a mental template to be able to look at jokes and go, where's the joke at? Where's it at? Where exactly is it at? And that's discussed a little bit in my webinar that's online right now too. It's about an hour long. We're going to be clipping it down a bit, but I thought I'd put it out there to see where the analytics show the dips in it. And we're going to go back in and edit it because I put a lot of stuff out there, and I'm always wondering what, like the point of this whole talk was to go, what does you guys want? You know, what do you want? Now I got a better, it was what I thought it was. You guys are saying all the things I thought it was, etc. And the reason I run my open mics the way I run my open mics, and Gayla runs her open mics, is that we're trying to attend to those things. And right now our open mic is only on Zoom, and it's free. You should, if you care, sign up for that because it's a good open mic. Gayla's very playful.
Definitely check it out.
Yeah, and sometimes she even gives feedback when she's got a little bit of time and all. So she'll go, oh, try this, try that. But she has to, if they're my students, they're more open to it. If they're non-students, she's less likely to say something, because my students, I've drilled in, I've given them so much solution feedback and worked with them so long. When Gayla goes, oh, here's a solution, they're more open to it because they know what it's going to be. It's not a criticism. It's saying, oh, look at this, consider trying this and working on this. Because my philosophy is I'll do it with you, but I won't do it for you. I'll sit down and say, okay, here's one example of this, and here's the principle or the technique you need to work on better, or the guideline you need to adhere to. Okay, see how I did that? Now, look at that, the rest of your shows, and apply it there. Otherwise, the teacher did it for you. And that's one of the problems I have with stand-up comedy classes is too many teachers do it for the students because they don't have the techniques. All they have is their opinion of what they like and what they don't like, or what they're offended by and what they're not offended by. And everybody has to adhere to that. And I just think that crushes individuality. And people come and see my shows and go, how are all of them so different? How did you do that? How did I do that? By getting the fuck out of the way. Stop imposing me on anybody. I don't want anybody to have my sense of humor. You know, that's why I teach techniques. You can apply them to your sense of humor in a way that would never even dawn on me. Leela, is your hand up, or is that?
Yes, I just have a question about class. Do you have anything, maybe you had this during the pandemic, but do you have anything that would be a level 1 stand-up class just on Zoom?
So that right here. Gayla runs it. It's
okay.
Right. You go to standupcomedy.com and go under level 1 and look at the Zoom classes. By the way, Gayla is not just my wife and you know, part of this whole thing here, but she's a headlining comedian. She has a Showtime special. She has an album.
She's very funny. I've seen some of her stuff.
Go and watch some of her stuff. She really knows what she's doing. And she's in the market more than I am, actually, because I retired from stand-up many years ago. People going, where are all the clips of you? I said, well, I retired a long time ago because for a lot of different reasons. Not only that I had cancer and I survived it. And when I got well, I was like, well, what am I going to do with my energy? And I was more interested in uncovering all of these techniques and teaching them. That became the passion of my life, not stand-up. My passion changed. That was earlier in my life. You couldn't keep me from not doing stand-up every night of the week for years and writing every day for an hour or more. That was my life. It's constantly just doing that and nothing else, much like you're probably doing, Michael. That years, that's all. But this teaching stuff took over because I realized nobody else was doing it. Nobody else was really looking at it and going, oh, let's develop some overall fundamentals for this field. That's been my outcome now for like 35 years. And I think I've partially been able to add, some really good things to that particular goal, to make, to put those techniques in, because I was taught by a good teacher to put the techniques, get my personal opinions and anecdotal ideas out of there and make sure that they're techniques. And what was the criteria for the techniques? What are the criteria? What makes a technique? What makes a technique? What makes I actually have a taxonomy that I adhere to. If you don't know what that is, it's a categorization. Everything I teach, I define. It all has a definition you want to know. You can say to me, what's the definition of that? I will give that to you if you want it, because everything I teach has that so that it will last past me. Okay, because I have very clear definitions, and other people can disagree with me, and that's fine. This is the way I lay it out, because it makes sense. And you'll see, once you see those things, you'll see other comedians doing them and go, oh, wow, he's right. That's being done by a bunch of other comedians, and there's no name for that. Until I gave it a name, so yeah, the online open mic is really good with Gala as well. And we're thinking about opening up just a writing group, writing groups where everybody, goes in, 5 people at a time go into a breakout room on Zoom, and, 10 minutes a piece. And then she'd run all that. It'd last an hour and do stuff like that. We're setting that up. That's because we're trying to build community here. We're trying to give it more and more a place for everyone to come and find out really great information. And there's a lot of stuff for free. All my blogs, a lot of good videos. I'm always putting up new ones, shorts as well, and et cetera, and some clips of my students, et cetera, et cetera. So you can see the work of people that are coming out of there. So anyway, we're doing our best to be of service to everybody. Really, we're trying to be helpful as we can on a journey to help make it more comfortable, and a very uncomfortable journey. Anybody who's done stand-up knows it's not easy, and it's scary, and there's, I always say that stand-up comedy is enough to knock you off the path of doing it. You don't need the teachers to be one more obstacle. The teacher should be the solutions for helping you stay on the path, and I get everybody's ex-students here in Southern California and the horror stories that I hear. And I said, really? They would actually say that to you? That would, but that's beyond my purview and all. So I just try to keep my mouth shut as much as I can and just take a breath and do my work. That's the way I look at it, because my stuff is moving all over the world. My book is now in 5 different languages, so it's kind of fun. If it's pandemic and all of the stuff gets over with, I can go over to China, because my book is all over China. It's the driving force around stand-up comedy, it seems, in China and Indonesia and Vietnam at this point. So it's kind of fun. But I'm not going to go over there yet. Until they find a permanent vaccine for some of these things. So any other questions about what we offer? Anything else? Any other questions about what we might offer, or anything to anybody, or any other questions? If you just want to ask me a question, I'm here right now, just period.
Greg, sorry, one last question. How do I find that on Teachable?
Type in which one? Type in Joke Writing Made Simple Teachable.
Okay, on Google. All right, I got it. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Or go to my website, go down to the bottom, and it'll say Teachable Classes, or in the menu, it'll say On Demand Classes.
Perfect. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. This was great. Thank you. I'm going to mute myself now. Thank you, guys.
Okay, anybody else? Great. So get out there, and thank you all for showing up, and get out there and share the laughter.
All right. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.